just continue to listen, and you need to keep evolving, and you do that with elite people around you. Coaching's coaching. We're all just dealing with people. We're trying to get the best out of them. We need the whole group to be great to win, and I think it's a good buy-in for a team. If you need me for something to step in and help you with helping that guy be better, I'm there for you. Yeah, going to an Olympics and a World Champs has always been the goal for me, certainly.
Welcome back to another episode of The Huddle, and this is an exciting one for me. My former coach, one of the best coaches in the league, joins me on The Huddle, Dean Vickerman. Dino, long time coming. I feel like I don't know whether I've been putting this off to have an informed, long conversation with you, but it's finally nice to catch up and chat a little bit more about you and your career.
Yeah, I'm sure you've been avoiding me for whatever that is. Nah, good to have a chat, mate.
This point in the season, we'll talk about that for Melbourne United, where finals around the corner once again, clinched a postseason berth. We know there's a lot to go to get to the end of what you want to achieve, but up until this point, how have you found the season so far?
Yeah, we got off to a pretty elite start. 12 and 4 with a lot of games at home, and it was kind of where we were kind of set up the season if we could do it right. And even though we didn't actually win our home games that well, we got to a point where, we needed to win on the road in this second half of the season. And, to come, it might be, I don't know, I think it's our second best road record ever to go 10-4. And so it's been really pleasing to be able to, execute down the stretch in some games and get some wins and, put ourselves in a position to be top two, and that's the goal every year. So, it hasn't been an absolute smooth kind of ride this year. It's had good bumps and peaks and troughs in it, and I think that can harden you up a little bit for the postseason.
How hard is it, I guess, to navigate those seasons where you've been through it all now? You've seen where those little slumps come at different points in the season, sometimes towards the end, sometimes at the beginning, sometimes in the middle. But understanding, I know everyone says it's a short season, 28 games, but if you don't take care of business or get out of those slumps in a quick enough time, you can find yourself on the outside looking in.
Oh, without a doubt. I guess ours coincided a little bit with, CG being injured and him missing the 4 games, and we had a little sugar rush for the first game he was out in New Zealand, where we played really well. We had kind of 3 guys out that game, but then the elite level that he was playing at, it took a little while for us to adjust and have everybody do a little bit more in the things that he was doing for us, and then then we were. We showed some good form, and we just quite couldn't get back to that level that we were earlier on. And so, I thought we searched for a little bit there on what is it, what changes it. And, even going back and watching some film of some games earlier on, we picked up a couple of things to say, we just had a greater intensity there. We were far more connected in those areas. And so, just getting back to some of those things that we were doing earlier on.
You mentioned the road block, and it happens in January for Melbourne over and over, year in, year out, because of the tennis. What kind of challenge does it actually bring to a team? We also spoke about it from a commentary perspective of how it can be good where you are struggling to win games or play your best, where you come together, where you're in each other's face all the time on the road. But there are positives and negatives to it. Do you find it's a bit easier to cope with now that you've done it for a few seasons, or has it still had new challenges every year?
Yeah, still new challenges every year. And, I've spoken before a little bit about, the number of new dads that we have on this team, and that actually, getting on the plane and getting a little bit of sleep on the plane and getting a couple of good nights sleep on the road, and, life's life. You got to do what you got to do to make sure you take care of your family and do all those kind of things. But yeah, that's been good for some people to get some good sleep. The group has been super connected. They found a card game that they like, and you see us at the airport lounge, and you've got all 11 players sitting there playing cards together. And it got to the point where the other day we're at the baggage claim, and somehow they made a makeshift table, and while the bags are waiting to come out, we've got all guys playing cards together. So there's been a really good connection with the group, being on the road doing those kind of things, playing a game together that's been inclusive for everybody. But yeah, it still has its challenges as a coach. It's like, when you need to change something, actually, can we get a practice session that can change something? Can we get to that intensity level that we need to? Or, you really got to be strategic about, the load that you put into people, and knowing that, travel is a component that makes it a little harder to get those sessions in.
I do want to chat about your whole coaching journey and some of your philosophy, but just on the road trips in particular, you've been around long enough, especially at Melbourne. Is there one road trip in looking back, maybe in the last 8 years, that stands out each year of knowing this is going to test my group? There's something about just going to this place, whether it's the flights, whether it's the venues, that always makes it a bit more challenging than any others?
Yeah, obviously, when you look at wins and losses, I think the Cairns one's always been a challenging one for us to, whether they've been in great form or we haven't been in great form, or, there was been something about going up there, whether it's Christmas or New Year's or something. There was always been a date that hasn't been great at different times. But I always felt like some of the Perth games over the last few years have been the games that, we just need this one. You can set us on the right path, and we've seen that again this year in winning that Perth game. That was really big for us, and even winning the Perth game earlier in the year where we had no Delhi and things like that. So for some reason we really just got up for that one, and it's really helped our seasons.
So your coaching career as a whole, multiple-time championship-winning coach. At this point, we know you've got so much left to achieve. What stands out, I guess, is something when you look back at being an assistant coach, where it all began, I guess, that you're most proud of to helping you become who you are right now as a head coach?
I think I continue to listen. I think that's the biggest, thing for me. Trying to put elite people around me. I understand, or I believe that I don't have all the answers to everything. And so, I've always wanted assistant coaches that want to be head coaches and, want to put forth, something that they really believe in. And so, yeah, being able to listen to them and then, making sure we have great mechanisms for our players to, to get their viewpoint across as well. And, we survey players after every game and just having their feedback, written for me going into a review, and having everybody's thoughts about, either where we can get better, what they loved about the last game, just coming up with elite questions. And Jacob's been great in helping, achieve that kind of feedback from our players. So, yeah, just continue to listen, and you need to keep evolving, and you do that with elite people around you.
You've done the transition from being a very good assistant coach to being then a head coach, and a successful one as well. We see at all sorts of levels the challenge that can bring to coaches. What is it about? Well, what would make it a little easier, or is it just something that is unique to whatever the situation is, making that jump?
Yeah, you're never ready. That was my toughest year ever in coaching, was going from a three-peat assistant coach to a head coach, and thinking, oh, we're just going to go win it again if we do very similar things. And the roster composition wasn't what it was, the three previous years, and people do, you win championships, people move on, and you get a different roster. But yeah, I think, you're looking back on that, and I spent the off season that after my first head coaching year, back to the books, just learning management, how to deal with people, and had a mentor who was an Olympic softball coach, and watching my body language, and just all these things where you can invest time in other people learning how to deal with situations. And coaching's coaching. We're all just dealing with people. We're trying to get the best out of them. They're all going to go through little slumps. They're going to go through hard times. How can you impact that with yourself or other people within the program to try and smooth the line out a little bit. And I think that's what assistant coaches have just got to be ready for, is just how to manage people.
You mentioned the softball on there. I can distinctly remember after the 2018 season when you brought Craig Bellamy in, and we were listening to what he does at the Melbourne Storm and what he's done to become who he is as a great in the sport, learning from other coaches and other codes, why is that so beneficial to someone of your caliber who's achieved everything possible right now in the NBL and still wants to obviously aspire to bigger and bigger things as well?
Yeah, I think it's just growing and learning. And right now I'm in a leader program that's got Craig Fitzgibbons from Cronulla Sharks, and just the way he goes about theming his season, how they involve the Shark mentality within their team, and they got Dean Cox is in my group as well, and how he's just going through this transition with the Swans from assistant coach to head coach. And we have an elite group. Belinda was an Olympic sailor that's in our group, and so I find it just a great network to be able to follow each other's season. We're at different times of the year, so you're kind of picking up things that maybe I'm hearing about Swans in preseason right now. There's something that I want to add to next year, and so such a valuable component to have people from other sports and just how they deal with it. And we're a different group. We're a little bit smaller than football codes, but how they break it down into small group work really intrigues me.
You talk very highly of the culture at Melbourne United, and we see it from the outside in. I've been part of it. I can understand it. When you first signed on at Melbourne United, and it was a quote that was in the article that you said that we need to make a cultural shift within the group. When you first got there, what did you want to be able to put in place? What did you want to build? And how hard is it to build a culture that maybe had fallen apart?
Yeah, I think that when I walked through the doors, and even the perception from the outside, it was like, you can go to Melbourne and get paid, and and maybe not quite held to the account that you should be. And so a new franchise with the changing of from Tigers to United, and trying to really bring elite people in, and maybe trying to fast track a championship in some ways in the way that they did it. And what I learned in New Zealand was really important, from Paul Blackwell and Andre Lamanis, and ownership through to coaching about how you need to earn everything and make sure you've been held account on the way. So hopefully we've created an environment. Maybe it's not for everybody. We're leading the league in assists, and that's something and we're playing solid defense without being great in some games. And we're sharing the basketball, and I think we need the whole group to be great to win. And I think it's a good buy-in for a team.
You talk about recruitment, and we got to see the behind the scenes a little bit in the offseason from Melbourne United last year. What goes into the recruitment side of things, understanding that you want to continue to build on this culture that's already there, that's had success now, that you've got to a point that you can look at and be like, okay, this sets us apart. But now every new player, every new face can provide, I guess, a bit of a challenge to that as well.
Yeah, the challenge of trying to compete for a championship every year, and that's the world that we live in. It's not like a draft system until that comes in. You have the opportunity to the best way. The way to get better is to continue to develop people. Make sure you've got a core group that you're continuing to evolve over time, and then adding import pieces that really help you with some areas that you're deficient in, or can really be game changers as well. And so, I think the balance of that one is something that we continue to try and look at. And now, you keep a core for a period of time, and it's like, wow, is this aging? Is this, how do we get some youth? Have we got the right mix? And I think that's the greatest challenge right now is just who is the core moving forward, and how long can we keep people at a really high level, and how do we support them with recruitment as well?
That core you talk about, we understand a lot of that with Chris Golding. Now we saw with Dave Barlow, building the relationships from a head coach with those lead guys can at times be tricky. We see it in all sports, but do you think it helped you being an assistant coach for such an elite level program at the Breakers and winning, understanding the importance of that?
Yeah, you know, I think sometimes head coaches can get a little funny about the strong relationships that
Mm.
assistant coaches build, and I looked at what I did, and it's like, oh, that was so important, and just having magnificent relationships and working with those players on the court every day, and and really holding them to account as an assistant coach. Say, you've just been able to have that honest communication and stuff. And so, yeah, I've really pushed my staff to just build those relationships as strong as possible. And if you need me for something to step in and help you with helping that guy be better, I'm there for you. But yeah, I sit over the top of all of that and just manage these coaches who are doing outstanding job.
Your coaching style as a whole, and we see it's intense. We know it's intense. I've experienced it from firsthand. When did you think you've understood the line of when to push harder and when to maybe take a step back?
Oh, there's some moments I don't really want to talk about where I felt I certainly stepped across the line, but yeah, I think of an understanding it just can't be every day. I got to drive with energy every day, but I can't be berating or using one of those bullets that you can only use occasionally to really get a response from the group. So yeah, I think there's been less of really getting after the group and really grabbing individuals aside and being in a different forum than calling everybody out in front of the group, where I thought I did that a bit more earlier in my coaching career. So yeah, then I should know where I'm going right now, but yeah. Next question.
The coaching philosophy as a whole, and again, you've spoke about this, not talking to your team after a game, immediately after a game, whether it's an unbelievable win, whether it's an agonizing, heartbreaking loss, or a blowout loss where we'd often expect a coach to go in there and let their team have it. Where did that begin? Have you always been that way, or did you change something?
No, it was certainly driven from Andre. So I think he had a couple of moments where he emotionally spoke to the group, and he really regretted, what he said to the group. And then I think, continued that on at the Breakers, and then got to Melbourne. And it's like, wow, the things that you can do with your players post game to engage with fans and family and all the things that they need to do. And um, yeah, there's times on the road right now where you share the same kind of locker room. There's not like a coach's room or anything, so you need to be in there. And yeah, whatever I say in that moment, it's not going to be too much, and it's not going to have too too much positive or negative about it. It's, hey, hey, we got to be better in this area. Let's watch a film and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Get some food, get your recovery done, and that's about as much as I'll really say after a game. I think it's really helped. Never it's a relationship breaking moment if you get that part wrong. But there's also the celebration side that sometimes you feel like you miss a little bit as well. Like how do we really celebrate a big win? I just get around, give everybody a high five on the road. Don't really see my players at home games and different things. So yeah, it goes a little bit both ways.
Have you ever had a moment in the last 5-7 years where you've thought, you know what, I'm going to actually have to say something now, and an assistant coach has said, let's just not do it. Let's do it tomorrow.
No, I don't know if I really remember that one. I think, yeah, you can feel it after a really bad loss. Is, hey, we need to have a bit of a chat, right now, and whether we sort it out or we pick a moment that we let's put some questions out there. I want these answered by the next time we meet, and just give a little bit of thought to it rather than just berate.
Do you believe in flush games, Dino? And when you have one of those performances that you just know is not your team, it was an anomaly, we're not going to see it again, we don't need to review it? Or are you someone who's going to always review it because he's learnings in every opportunity?
No, I believe there is. I'm not sure if we've had one this year. Um, I think there's some you can see at different times. There's a schedule one that's say, well, my whole group is not on today, and there's reasons why, whether that be travel or the week that you had or different things. There's gonna be there's the ones where you got there's 2 or 3 guys missing, but everyone else was at a high level. Why is that? So yeah, I do believe there is, especially if you have a flush game and you have to move on quick, to say, hey, we got a game in 2 days. Let's get rid of that. Pick a couple of moments still that was good and bad, and make sure there's still a balanced review. But yeah, I believe there is flush games in the season for sure.
I spoke to you a little bit about in the preseason, obviously the heartbreak last year, the way it finished. You've experienced the best highs possible in sport. You've experienced the other side of it last year, even a couple of years ago against Tasmania as well. What kind of challenge is that for you personally as a coach, knowing where when a season abruptly ends, not the way that you want, that your, I guess, parting message on your team, looking back on what just happened, can only imagine from a personal point of view that when you're sitting there thinking about what to say, it's going to be very difficult.
Oh, for sure. To walk in a room where either everybody's in tears or shattered by the experience and how close you got. I thought about that one in the coach's room for a fair while before I walked into the room, and then it was like you do after every season. What are you thankful for? Who do you need to celebrate in these moments for that helped us get to this point? And you're certainly not worried about reviewing too much. There's going to be exit meetings. There's going to be all those kind of things. So, and there was not really a great message I'm going to send right here to say, oh, let's remember what this feels like. Oh, no, this is shit. This feels terrible right now. Let's, but I want to thank, the physios. I want to thank, our teammate. I want to thank all these people that, at times didn't get recognized for helping us get to where we got to. And so, yeah, that was really my message after that one.
We got to see some cool insights throughout with a little documentary this year. I know you had 350 game milestone that you notched up. Going back home to your family after games, after tough games, has that changed from the younger Dean Vickerman where maybe you wore games for a little bit longer? Are you still going home after a tough loss when you're maybe really upset with the way that the team performs and it hangs on with you a little bit longer?
Yeah, my girls used to kind of just they were great to come home to, and they didn't care and do all that stuff. And now they got a little bit older. I don't even see them anyway. So so now it's about my dog, and he's still wagging his tail. It's like, all right, let's go for a walk. And we walk the block every night, but it's like, I've still got to do this. I've still got to take the dog for a walk, even as shitty as I'm feeling about the game. So yeah, got a lot better at putting a time limit on it and what I review after a bad game. Rather than go back, I need to watch the whole thing. It's like, no, I just need to watch this 5 minutes, or I need to just answer something in my own head that I feel like there's a point that I can move forward on for the meeting tomorrow, rather than going back through every little detail of the game. I just need something to move me forward to be able to sleep properly.
Thankfully for you, there's been a lot more positives than those negative moments for you to go back and think about. And we now see a lot of your name pop up. We talk about international duties and dreams and goals. Your aspirations on an individual level, both growth-wise and what you want to achieve, balancing that whilst in the middle of a championship contending season. How hard is that? But also, I guess, how exciting is that from where you're at in your point in life?
Yeah, going to an Olympics and a World Champs is always been the goal for me. Certainly, I went to a few NBA things, and I just never felt like, oh, this is where I want to be. Really enjoy our league, and maybe down the track there's other leagues around the world that I want to explore at different times as well. But the goal has always been to go to an Olympics and World Champs, and being an assistant coach with the Tall Blacks was the start of that. Just going to Olympic qualifiers and getting the chance to play against Dirk Nowitzki and try and come up with a game plan. It was like, wow, how do we double? What do we do to try and win a game against this kind of talent and stuff? And absolutely, enjoyed it. And then Andre took over, jumped in with the Boomers, so I needed to do more for the Breakers, and that helped me become a head coach in planning pre-seasons and doing all those kind of things. And yeah, now having a few little opportunities, with the Boomers over the last couple of windows and different things, and trip to Japan with the youth, and it's just kind of like, yeah, this is still what I really want to do, and it's nice at 53 that you've kind of still got these goals sitting there, and they're potentially still achievable. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future.
Getting that call for the win to be a part of it for the Windows and lead those teams, and you mentioned where you're at being the age you are. What does it feel like, I guess? Because everybody would just be assuming, okay, yep, that'd be great for you to do. But as you said, it's a dream of something you want to do, to be able to just get that first opportunity. I feel like you wouldn't wipe the smile off your face when that call came.
Well, it's kind of sits both ways, right? Because we missed the playoffs, and that's maybe one of the only reasons I got called up to do that window is that I was available. But yeah, coaching an Australian team in Melbourne, for my first time being a part of it was really cool, and you just had a great group, and it's like you hear about Boomers culture, but until you're in it, what's this? What is this all about? And what's it feel like? How's it going to be different to, United? And, and then you get up there and the whole floor is decorated in Boomer stuff. And, they got their own little song. And, but yeah, just having everybody, in some ways we try and replicate that kind of thing at United, where we just got everybody, pulling in the same direction, and everyone's willing to do whatever it takes to win for your country or your club. And, so yeah, I felt really comfortable in it, and super proud of what we did in Japan with the youth group coming in, and having 1.5 practices, and playing a team that was going to the Olympics and being able to beat them and draw with them in a couple of games. It was a whole lot of fun.
The milestone 350 games, the championships, the Boomers' aspirations, the Boomers' taste. Throughout it all, the last decade plus, have you had a moment in particular, a pinch me moment, where you've sat there thinking, this is everything that I thought of and more to achieve in my life, and I've still got so far to go? Because you're one of the best we've ever seen, and as you said, there's still so much left to achieve.
Yeah, I've never really reflected. You get some of those milestones, and you kind of see some old highlights or things. It doesn't feel like very long ago. It doesn't feel like very long ago that three-peat championship, and then you catch up with those guys, and it just feels like it was yesterday a little bit. So I haven't spent much time reflecting on my career. I've just been trying to continue to drive forward. Let's win the next game, and at some point it'll stop, and who knows when that is, but I've still got great energy for it, and love coming to work every day and trying to win a championship for our club and for our team.
I do have to ask as well, we mentioned it in a pre-game conversation earlier in the year, fans would want to know, when you first brought in MMA, and I remember we got smacked by, it was Muscat's 38 plus by Perth right before a FIBA break, and you talked about not having that emotional first conversation, and you didn't, but then the next day when we had to get to the MMA, the hot yoga, the boxing, all of that, where did that come from?
Vince Crivelli. So one of the joys of having Vince as the CEO was that every day he would walk into my office and have an idea about how we get better and stuff. And so, I just have my little net, and just every now and again, one of his ideas I'll just grab. But, I think I've always enjoyed that. I want, have an open door for the coaches to, walk into my office and spitball things at me, and people email me, and I always get back to them if they've got an idea that can make us better. And that one stuck, and it was, how do we embrace physicality as this group? And MMA was nowhere to hide. Once you're down on the floor, you gotta fight. You gotta find a way out of it.
No, that was the hardest thing I've ever been through. And as soon as we went on to win the championship, I was mad. I remember talking to Dave Barlow thinking, this sucks because this means we're going to have to do it in preseason next year. And sure enough, we did. Dino, before I let you go, speaking about what's coming up with the finals, I know there's a couple games left of the regular season to try and lock in second spot. But this year as a whole, as a league, especially the top 6, as it looks like it could be potentially locked in, I can't recall this more of an open league, I guess, where there's no real runaways. The Hawks, I think, what everybody would understand, are probably the favourites, and for good reason, finishing on top. But really, you can make the case any of the top 6 have a chance to win this championship that I can't recall has happened for a very long time. It's exciting, but I'm sure it's daunting as well.
Oh, absolutely, it is. I think when they started talking about the play-in and how's it going to, is it a good thing for our league? And yes, it's going to create more games that are meaningful. And so I think it's absolutely done that. And so I think that's what this league has been about. We're talking about, every possession's important. We miss the playoffs on not making one basket kind of thing. And so I think when you get those kind of messages in your head, and now you get to a point where, hey, there's that absolute battle for the top 2 spot. It's such a meaningful battle to try and get that. And then there's been this great battle to be in, and I still would just call it the playoffs, because I think this top 6 right now is like, hey, you're making the playoffs, whether we call it playing or whatever. But I think it's been great for what we're trying to achieve as a league and making games, and every possession so valuable and important. And you look at the runs these teams are going on. Illawarra being great all year. Sydney, they pull it all together. They're great. Southeast have been amazing, and the things that they're doing. Perth, you see, haven't won a game with Windler out. Now he's back, and Ty Webster's back in, and they got some pieces to add. And I'm sure I'm missing teams. Adelaide, us, everybody have shown moments that they're worthy of winning the championship this year.
It's fun for us to look back and watch it. I'm sure it does make things a little bit more interesting from within. Dino, thank you so much. Good luck for the rest of the regular season and the finals.
Cheers. Good to talk to you.